Welcome in everybody to our YouTube channel video today. Today's Thursday, July 21st. My name is Charlie Castro. I want to thank you for being on with us today. We've not done one of these in a few months. Things have sort of exploded for us around here, to be quite candid. We've done very well the last few months working with some of the different bank auction houses, and we're going to talk about that today. And also acquiring some new inventory, which we're going to talk about today also, which is sort of the low-end REOs. And we're going to talk about where all the good deals have gone. We're also going to talk about some bank protocol. So we're just going to get right into it. If you got a pen and paper, I would have that handy. You might want to take down some notes or have that out. I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes as I typically do, so I don't bore you. So I'm going to do my best to keep this brisk and moving along. So it'll be about 20 minutes. We're going to discuss some other types of buying options that your network of investors, or if you're an investor, may appreciate. There have been some changes to the market, as I know all of us have realized at this point. So there's places where you can find good deals, and there are places where you're just not going to get good deals like you once could. And we're going to talk about both of those today, but in particular where you can still find some good values out there. So, one of the things I say to people all the time now is, it's 2016. The market has recovered. It's not 2010 or 11 anymore. And some of the things that you used to be able to find, you just can't find that easily. I still have people who will call me up and say, "Hey, Charlie, I saw the last list of bank-owned properties, for example, that you have, and what's the discount on those?" And the answer is, well, there is no discount on those. Or, people will call up and say, "Hey, I saw the portfolio that you have. We've got a number of portfolios still for sale, cash flowing portfolios. We still do that." But people will say, "Well, there's no discount. What's the?" And in many cases, there isn't a discount. So we have to just understand that we're in a market right now that is rebounded. There's talk of a bubble in some markets. For the most part, if you don't know this, the hedge funds are out. For as many of you know, hedge funds were my primary source of income from 2011 to 2014, helping them find off-market investment real estate. And for the most part, they're out now. There's lots of inventory out there. It's not that the inventory isn't plentiful. There's plenty of it. Us understanding what you buy helps us tremendously. In other words, if you send me an email that says, "Charlie, I saw your YouTube channel video. I'd like to get your properties in Georgia." Okay, well, that helps me. I've narrowed it down to Georgia, but if you tell me I'm looking in this price range, I like vacant or I like tenant occupied, I'm looking for a cash-on-cash yield of X amount. If you narrow down what you're looking for, it really helps us help you find inventory. Sellers of turnkey cash-flowing properties, as I mentioned a moment ago, are typically not offering deep discounts any longer, and I hate to break that to people, but I do have this conversation all the time. We had one in Charlotte this past week. This very aggressive buyer made some very aggressive offers on a number of, I think it was about 25 properties in Charlotte. Came in, fairly close to the asking price, but the seller wouldn't move, just wouldn't budge. Most of those sellers of those turnkey cash flowing portfolios are really just not offering discounts the way they used to. Bank pricing has gone up. Rarely do you see bank properties available that are deeply discounted. I did have one today, ironically, which was a property in New York that was being sold, and it was in Jamestown, New York, being sold at $15,000. It was a $30,000 property. The bank lowered it because they had a buyer fall out, and it was set to close escrow on August 1st. So they were willing to drop the price. That is a rarity. That hardly ever happens. I know once upon a time when you saw bank-owned property, you knew it came at a discount. If you bought it even in bulk, and bulk was once upon a time considered to be 5 or more. But you really don't see that anymore. You really don't see banks, the bank inventory coming onto the market at deeply discounted prices. So where do you find the good deals at these days? And I get asked this a lot. Where do you find that inventory? So first, before we get there, I'm going to talk about where we see the state of the market right now. So low-end inventory, that property in that $5,000 to $25,000 range is all over. Very limited bank inventory in those price ranges, but there's plenty of that out there. If I know the type of property you're looking for and the market that you're looking for it in, finding inventory that fits that profile is not difficult to find. That mid-range property, that $25,000 to $100,000 property, those are also available in good quantity, both bank and private REOs. You see a lot of bank property in $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 in that price range for private or for bank REOs, as well as private REOs. We market a couple of tapes that are private REOs that there's plenty of property in that price range. Now, when you get over $100,000, for the most part, and I'm talking 90% of what we see is going to be bank property. If you're looking for property in that price range, it's almost 100% of the time going to be a bank-owned property. It's going to come through either auction.com or Hudson Marshall, and I'll talk about that in a few slides. You will not find much of anything discounted in places like the 5 boroughs in New York, in California, Nevada, Arizona, and now for the most part in Texas as well. Now, in the 5 boroughs, I get asked for that all the time. So if you're a buyer or an investor or a broker with buyers in the 5 boroughs, God bless you. We'd love to be able to help you, but the amount of inventory that's available there, the amount of people looking to buy it is extremely one-sided. And so we don't see a lot there. California's a little bit better, but not much. California's right at about market value these days. So it's really difficult to find good deals in any of those states, unfortunately. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have some lists in those states. We do. You just got to be a lot more patient in finding those types of properties. So I know I still haven't told you where the good deals are. I'm going to get there in a minute. The fix and flips is typically where you're going to find your best deals at right now. The lower end fix and flips in that lower price range. Now I'm talking about properties from $5,000 to $25,000. Now we have seen, and for some of you that watch this video, you know that you've been buying properties from us for the last 2 months, well, since late April. So April, May, June, the last 3 months, you've been seeing properties that we're able to deliver for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a door. There's always some flexibility on pricing. To give you an idea what these are, these were large service providers that bought huge blocks of properties from banks 1, 2, 3 years ago, and they still have some of that low-end inventory left. You can just get great deals on. They'll always have some tax liens of $600 to $1,200, $1,500, $1,800, but you're still in well under $10,000, and those are plentiful. There's lots of those right now. If we know your market that you're looking in, we can help you with that. Typically, the concentration of those is in the Rust Belt states, the Bible Belt states. There's some of those in Florida, but those are shrinking too. Unless you like Jacksonville, there is some Jacksonville property. If you're looking for Jacksonville REOs, we do have some of those. But for the most part in Florida now, when people are looking for, I'll give you an example. The private list that we've been marketing for over a year now, it used to be when I got my new list at the beginning of each month, the Florida inventory would be about anywhere from 75 to 200 properties. Last month, I think I had about 15. So that gives you an idea of the dwindling inventory in Florida. Just you can't find it that easy. If you're looking for deals, again, you're really looking in the Bible Belt states and some in the Rust Belt states. These prices can be ridiculously low if you buy them in bulk. And I just give you a quick example. We did have a fairly large package that we closed there. The buyer picked it up for about $3,000 a door, but it was over 50 properties. So if you're looking for bulk, you can get some really good deals. And these types of properties are perfect for a flipper. Even if you're just going to flip and do some minor repair and flip to others investors, and I'll just tell a couple success stories. We've got a couple gentlemen that are doing this right now with us, and what they're doing, they're just simply buying these as cheap as they can. They do what they call a prehab, where they just go out, they clean it up, they give it some curb appeal, they get the trash out of it, they just make it to where it's ready to be rehabbed and just clean everything up, just give it a better appearance on the outside, secure it with a lock. Simple things, and they're buying it for X. They're putting maybe $1,000 or $1,500 into it. Maybe they're paying off $1,000 or whatever for liens, they're cleaning up title. Then they're selling it for a nice little profit. So sometimes people are just buying these and just flipping them to other investors real quickly. So there's some really good money to be made in these sort of low end flips. Contact if you'd like to see a copy of one of the lists. We have several of them. So what about foreclosed bank property? Well, let's start at the beginning. We're on the VIP list now for both auction.com as well as Hudson Marshall. So we see 1 to 3 new lists every week. Typically, that's anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 properties, all foreclosed properties. If you want to be on our mailing list, just contact us. We'll talk about that in a few slides here. We only market the ones that are in pre-sale. That's an election on our part. We decided that there was no sense in marketing anything from those lists if they were in auction. So if you're at a live auction, you're bidding with 1,000 other people. We said, now we don't really want to do that. So we only market the pre-sale list. That just means we get the list before it goes to auction. So if you're on our mailing list, you're seeing this stuff before it actually goes to live auction. We only market those properties that we have price guidance on. Now let me explain that. If you've tried to buy off bank property before and you had a bad experience, it's probably had something to do with the fact that you were bidding blind. which means that you saw the properties and you made your bid on the properties. We've been through this. We did this last year with Fannie Mae properties. Many of you may recall that we were marketing some Fannie Mae properties, and what we learned was that when you had no price guidance, you had no idea what the bank was going to accept. So as an example, you come in, you start your offer off at $25,000, and you think it's a good offer. You've done your due diligence. You're confident that you've bid on that property accordingly. If the bank sets a reserve price of $100,000 for that, they're never going to accept 25. They're not going to accept 35. They're not going to accept 95. And so with no price guidance, you have no idea what the bank's going to accept. And what's the result of that? Well, the result is this. The result is you get upset because the bank doesn't send a thank you card out when you send in your bid and say thanks for your offer, but it's been rejected. They don't do that. So you get upset at us because we can't tell you what the situation is in the property. The fact is they don't care if they don't get the reserve price. They just keep it back out there for people to bid on. So it can lead to real frustration. Now, we're able to get price guidance. Matter of fact, if we send something from this office, it's a bank foreclosed property, I'm going to be able to tell you what the bank's going to accept. If you contact me, we can tell you how all that works, but we're going to be able to give you that price guidance. It means everything. It is the key market advantage in working with us on these types of bank lists. You're going to be able to know what the bank is going to accept. Very important point. Contact me. We can give you more detail on that. Now, can you find good deals in these lists? I get asked all the time. Well, they're bank lists. Do we get good deals? Well, here's a couple things you want to know. First of all, the answer is yes, but you got to be patient. The list comes out every week. You may see a list one week and go, Charlie, everything on that list is at market value or above. Okay, well, wait for the next week's list because you get a new list in 5 or 6 days from now as well. Look at that list as well. You need to be patient. Also, the part of the country you market in is going to be a determining factor in the kind of deals you can find. For example, if you're looking to buy in California, as I said a few slides ago, you're just not going to find deals at 80% anymore. You're just not. If you're looking in the 5 boroughs, same thing applies. If you're looking in Michigan or in Illinois or Ohio or Kentucky or some parts of Florida, yeah, you can get some good deals, but you got to be patient and you got to look through the list. You got to look through the list every week. Okay, so how does it work? The first thing you want to know is in these bank lists, protocol is very thick when you buy bank property. And these are some of the things that you want to know. First of all, that price guidance I just spoke to you about, that is the starting and ending price. You need to know that going in, that when you see these lists and me or Matt give you a strike price or a reserve price, that's the price. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Move on. Don't think you can negotiate with the bank because they just don't negotiate. In many cases, we cannot get you inside. So understand that going in. These are as is, sold as is, whereas just like you're at a live auction, even though you're buying pre-auction, it's just pretend you're at a live auction. You don't get to run down and look at the property while you're at live auction. When you make your bid, your due diligence period has come to an end. That's a very important point. Matter of fact, that's so important. I'm going to mention it probably 3 times in the next the next 10 minutes. When you make your bid, your due diligence is up. These are all cash deals. There is no financing. Do not bid. I'm saying it again. Do not bid until you've conducted your due diligence. Very important. You got to do your due diligence first. This is another reason why many people have not had good experience buying from banks. Because in many cases, what they do is they make their bid, then they go back. I said, let me go back out and check and make sure. You can't do that. You don't want to do that. There's actually consequences if you do that. You don't do that. We need to know all the buyer's information when we submit the bid. If you're not the buyer, we need to have all of their information, including their proof of funds. We need to have the signed agreement and the EMD will be expected within 24 to 48 hours of winning that bid. This moves very quickly. If you bid on something and you get the property, you're going to go to contract immediately. They're going to expect earnest money to be in immediately. It moves very quickly. The closing will be 20 to 45 days. Our fees are always the same on bank properties. We don't fluctuate. It's $2,000 for any property under $100,000 and 2% for any property over $100,000. If you're a broker, you got to add on top of that. Our consulting fees are pretty reasonable considering we provide, we think, is a very dynamic service to help you bank-owned properties. Now, what is the pre-auction list and why is it a big deal? I'm going to just give you a couple, 3 reasons here. We get this list every week. Now, why is this an advantage? Well, number one, not everybody has the list. Are there other VIPs? Yep, there sure are. Are there dozens of them to where you're bidding on a property with multiple people? You do in some cases, but it's not that common. You will end up in a multiple bid situation from time to time. That's why we always ask for your highest and best bid in case you do end up there. But you're not bidding at live auction. That's the first advantage. The second advantage is we can give you price guidance. We can tell you what the bank's going to accept. You might not like what you hear, but at least it keeps you from going through the long, arduous process of making your bid, waiting to hear back, calling and asking us what's the status. You don't need to do any of that. We know what the bank's going to accept. Unless somebody outbids you or the property's already been sold, if you bid at that price, you got a really good chance of getting the property. The last thing is, because these are pre-auction lists, you've got a little more time to conduct your due diligence. You don't have to do, if you go to auction.com right now and go to their site and bid on a property, that's great, but you're going to have no price guidance, and you have no idea what the bank's going to be willing to accept, and you have no time to do due diligence because you're already at a live auction. On the other hand, if you buy off the pre-auction list, you're going to have some price guidance. You're not going to be bidding against as many people, and you're going to have some time to go out and do your due diligence. Typically, we get anywhere from 3 days to about 3 weeks on these lists. That gives you that much time to be able to conduct due diligence, submit your bid. We can only give you lists in your market. We cannot send out the entire tape nationwide. So if you ask for the entire list, we cannot send that to you. Some tips for buying from these lists. First of all, always submit your highest and best. I said that a minute ago, and it's just true. If I say the price is $150,000, but you're willing to go $155,000, tell us that. That way, if you get into a multiple bid situation, we have your highest and best bid. It's always the best policy in terms of having great success in buying these. Any time you submit a bid that's under the price we give you, we won't even submit it. They're not going to accept it. It's not worth anybody's time. Response time on offers can take 1 to 14 days. When we give that information, when we submit the bid, it isn't always the next day. Sometimes it is the next day. I mentioned the property in New York City a few minutes ago, the one at $15,000. If I get a call on that property today, it'll be gone today. It'll be contracted by tomorrow. Most of them, not most, our successful buyers have learned the protocol. I can't encourage you enough to take the time to get on the phone with me or Matt and learn about how all this works so that when you're making your offers, you can be successful doing this. Be patient. It can sometimes take 2, 3, 4 bids to win a property. Each week may not have something that fits your model, so be patient with that. Patience is, you're looking for good deals. We start talking about good. If you're going to get good deals, the key is really in patience, especially if you're not buying those low-end REOs. The low-end REOs I spoke about earlier, that's like, the people buying that stuff is like kids in a candy store. They're buying stuff really super cheap. The protocol is very simple. They submit their offers to me. I give them directly to the seller of the properties. We meet you two guys up. You guys do the deal together. It's really, they throw me a small consulting fee on the other end. It's really a very simple process. Bank stuff is a lot thicker, but you've got to be patient. You can't bid on one property, not get it, and then say, well, that doesn't work. That's not the way to do it. We were having lunch with the VP of sales for Hudson Marshall about 3 months ago, and I asked him what the hedge fund's batting average was. He said about 10%. So 1 out of 10 they get, but they understand if they bid on 10, 15, 20 properties every week, they get a good number, and that's how their model works. But you want to be patient. It's really key. Now, when you make your offer, we're going to have your buyer's detail, the POF, as I mentioned. If you're a corporation, we have to have articles of incorporation. If you win the bid, you're going to have 24 hours to sign their agreement. I mentioned that. Earnest money will be immediate. Title will be conveyed either by quitclaim or special warranty deed. Now, you can do a quitclaim deed if you want to flip it. We have people that buy these and then flip them, so they like the quitclaim deed. You don't need to do a quitclaim deed. They're going to get all the liens, any tax liens or anything that's on the title. They'll clear that, but if you want to do a quitclaim deed, they will do that. You can pick your own title and escrow company. It doesn't matter. It's not a deal killer. If you want to use your own, that's fine. Closing, we tell folks, is 20 to 45 days. That's just, we've had some that have been fast. We've had some that have been painfully slow. It can be any of the above. Just depends on the bank. And again, all properties there are sold as is, whereas as are all REOs, by the way. It doesn't matter whether you're buying an REO from a bank or from a private seller. An REO means it's sold. You bought it, you own it, you've done your due diligence prior. There's no going back. What happens when you win the bid? You're going to get notice from our office that you won the bid. And then it goes very fast, as I mentioned. It's all done electronically with online signing documents. It's all done electronically. You then go into what's called the auction.com transaction room. Again, everything's done online via DocuSign. Remember, we'll need all your corporate docs if you're a corporation and an updated POF. And again, your due diligence comes prior to this moment. We have to impress upon you. That's very, very important. Now, when requesting bank properties, if you want to be on our list, we have created a database of buyers. If you want to be on our list, all you got to do is contact me or Matt. I got Matt's email address up here, preauctionbids@gmail.com. One email, what state you want to be in or states you want to be in. Give us some ideas on price points. And then every week, our office will generate to your office a list of properties for that week. So again, that's preauctionbids@gmail.com if you want to be on our list, and that's either for bank-owned inventory or for private REOs. If you're looking to buy those as well, you get on our list. I'm not going to go through overall market observations. We see the market has changed quite a bit. We think that, like most people, the market's going to continue to improve. And if you want to be a successful buyer, it's just a matter of being patient, understanding what you're looking to buy, and then effectively communicate that to people like us that can help introduce you to buyers or sellers across the country, rather. So with that, I'm Charlie Castro. I kept that right at 20 minutes. Again, preauctionbids@gmail.com. That's Matt's email address, or matt.castro91@gmail.com. Matt manages our database, which means all properties that come in go into a database so we can search for something when you send it to us. We do ask that you cite the list that you took it from, so we're not searching through 5 lists to find one property. But Matt does control that database. If you want to be on our mailing list, contact myself or Matt. Get on the mailing list, and when a list comes out each week, which is typically Tuesday and Thursday or Friday, we have one going out today, which is Thursday, but it's either Thursday or Friday each week. The second list comes out, and we can provide that to you on a weekly basis. So with that, I am Charlie Castro. I want to thank you for being here with me today, and look forward to talking to you all real soon. Have a great day, everybody.